What's going on, everybody? On the road DFS here, once again, bringing you a live stream here for my Chicago Bulls fantasy outlook for the coming year. I'm going to start off just by saying I have a loud neighbor, so if you hear any yelling, I might just try to talk over it. He's very into his video games. But that aside, here, we're going to be breaking down the Chicago Bulls, kind of looking at their rotations here going forward as we look ahead to the NBA fantasy season. So, first of all, we all know the Bulls made a bunch of additions in the offseason. Their roster is going to look drastically different than it did last year, but a couple things stayed the same, notably Levine, obviously, and Vooch, who was also an addition fairly recently last year, but he is a carryover nonetheless to this coming year. So there's going to be some interesting things to talk about with this team. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I just want to do a live stream today. It's just easier to get this content out, and yeah, so I won't have any pictures up or anything, but you'll hear what I'm talking about. So I pulled up a projected starting lineup thing for the Bulls. So this is not final by any means, but it could be exactly how this plays out, though. It's what experts believe at this point. So I'm just going to go through this. So point guard Lonzo Ball. From a fantasy perspective, Ball has been decent usually. I don't think I'd prioritize Lonzo Ball. We know he's a great distributor. The scoring has never exactly been there, but on this Bulls team, he won't need to. What's his role exactly going to be? I would guess distributor for the most part and strong defender. And I mean, he'll knock down open shots, his threes and stuff like that. But I think Lonzo's the type of guy where you get to him if he lasts till some round where you're just like, okay, this is a value right here. I would not reach for Lonzo at all. If I end up drafting Lonzo, it would be a scenario in my fantasy draft where I'm just like, this is too value here. This is way too much value for him to even be on the board, which could easily happen. He's one of those players that I think has potential to drop, especially given the Bulls situation, actually. I would say there's more mouths to feed on his current roster. But the thing is, he might be the one doing the feeding with those assists. So there's multiple ways to look at this. But anyway, I'm like lukewarm on Alonzo Ball. Like, if he ends up on my roster, I feel pretty good about it, but I'm not prioritizing him at the same time. All right, this says Zach Levine starting at shooting guard. And it's going to be interesting here because Levine has really taken some great strides the last couple of years. I'm a big fan of Zach Levine's game, and I would be ecstatic if he ended up on my fantasy roster. But at the same time, he's not. I mean, he is still the main dog, but he has more mouths to feed. Like I said, DeRozan now. Lonzo, I think, is going to mostly pass. So that actually just help him. But specifically DeRozan, and then just continuing to see how he meshes with Vooch there at center. And also, we're going to get to this guy in a minute as well. But Patrick Williams, the rookie, it's just, or not the rookie, sorry, rookie from last year, second-year player now. But it's just going to be interesting to see if any of those shots are taken from Levine this coming year. I don't think so. I think Levine is a solid draft. I honestly, I really like it. The thing is with Levine, there is a little injury risk. There are with a lot of guys, but we've seen Levine suffer a serious injury before. So that's just something to keep in mind. And if the Bulls succeed, like a lot of people think this is going to be a playoff team, are they going to rest him late in the year? I don't know. He's young. It's just the injury concern. So that's my take on Levine. Patrick Williams, they have starting at small forward. I think he's a guy that could take a big jump in year two. Sometimes targeting those year two players is a good strategy because I think a lot of times big strides are made between years one and year two. So, I mean, Patrick Williams is definitely a guy that could do that. But at the same time, is he going to be asked to do as much with all these new additions? Because this goes to the bench too. This isn't just the starters, and we'll talk about them. But they have some new guys on the bench and at least one trade brewing as well, which I'll talk about. But Patrick Williams, he's a starter. He's a starter that could last into a later round. I think you could feel pretty good if you were able to pick up Patrick Williams in a later round for sure. All right, see, this has DeMar DeRozan starting at power forward in its projection, which I think is interesting. It kind of just says that at this stage in his career that DeMar DeRozan is more of a forward than he is a guard, which is how he came to the league. They might have a point there. I don't fully know if I expect to see DeMar DeRozan play the four. Um, I don't know. There's a lot up in the air there. Maybe Williams and DeRozan flip flop there with the 4 and the 3. I don't really know, but DeMar DeRozan, his whole thing has been he struggled with the 3 now for a while, and his role is different now. Though his expectations are different. He is surrounded by guys that can shoot the 3 now, basically all around him. Even his center can shoot the 3. Patrick Williams, decent at shooting the 3. Lonzo, sure. Levine, absolutely. So I don't know. I just feel like his expectations have changed, so he's not going to have to chuck threes if he doesn't want to. His whole thing has been, slashing and I guess mid-range, for DeRozan, which should fit in well with the players around him. It's just the distribution. That's what I'm saying with all these guys. I imagine Levine still has extremely high usage, but aside from that, it's hard for me to exactly say what it's going to look like because I know Vooch is going to get his too, right? So it's just going to be interesting to see how involved each of these guys are in the offense. DeRozan could be like a mid-round steal, or he could be a mid-round bust potentially. It's kind of a risky play. Could pay off majorly, could majorly cost you. That's going to have to be a personal decision for you. But my take would just be he's in a different situation with different expectations than he's been in a while. He's honestly been counted on pretty heavily in the past, more heavily than he will be on the Bulls roster. So just keep in mind, for better or for worse, and I think mostly for better looking at it, DeRozan is in a new situation with a new set of expectations. And then we come to the center position here. Of course, it's Big Vooch. And I love him. I mean, last year he helped me win a fantasy championship. But keep in mind, a lot of that year he was where? The Orlando Magic. So, I mean, when I had him and he went to Chicago, it wasn't a huge drop-off in production by any means, but I do believe it was a slight drop off in production. And that was when it was mostly him and Levine with the usage. So now, I mean, my big thing is DeRozan. Like, is he going to take away from Vooch? I got to think he does at least slightly, especially if he's playing the 4 like this projection is saying. The Lonzo thing I'm not too worried about because, like I said, I like him as a distributor. That should probably help everybody else to have Lonzo out there. But I just don't know how Vooch's, I guess, usage is going to look. He should be a solid pick. I don't think I drafted him as highly as I did last year. I want to say he was like a 2nd or 3rd rounder. I'd have to double check that when I got him. But I don't think I'd take him that high anymore. I'm thinking a little more 4 through 5 for Vooch. But if someone wants to reach on him in your league, I would let them do it because I personally don't think I'll be reaching for Vooch. But if he falls to a round where I'm like, okay, he is too valuable to still be available here, then of course I'll take a chance on Vooch. All right, so now the rest of the team, we have Tony Bradley. That's kind of interesting. He's been on a few different teams. Not really much to say about him. Don't draft him. I mean, he's had his moments as a FanDuel value at different times in the last couple of seasons, actually. But we're not talking FanDuel specifically here. We're talking fantasy. So no Tony Bradley. Okay. Archie Diacono, he's gotten some time off the bench the last couple years. Have to see what his role exactly is because I don't think the bench additions are really helping him with Caruso there now, who we'll talk about. But I mean, Kobe White's still there as well. I definitely don't draft him. If you want to put him on your watch list and just see, sure. Troy Brown Jr. That is interesting because he was a player on Washington around like the bubble time when they were doing the bubble and everything. Who I felt like actually seemed like he had a bunch of potential, and since then it seems like he's kind of fallen off. I'd have to do more research on it, what exactly his story is at the moment. But no, I mean I wouldn't draft him, definitely wouldn't. But I'll be interested to watch his career though for sure. On a different note, I want to know like did he just totally fall apart or what's the story with him? Okay, Alex Caruso. So Caruso has never really been, at least to this point in his career, the guy you draft in fantasy. I mean, he could be a solid pickup, from the free agent pool. I don't think anything's really changed. I feel like he's the type of guy that might be like a late round pick in a lot of leagues, like one of the last rounds. I could see Caruso getting drafted. He's a good defender. I mean, and we all know in leagues, blocks and steals can go a long way. And if he gets a few buckets here and there as well, which he tends to do, wouldn't be a horrible pick, I'd say, with like your last or maybe second to last pick, depending on how many people are in your league. But again, not prioritizing Caruso. He's just the type of guy where if you look at the pool of players that are left and Caruso really stands out, then yeah, go ahead and take Caruso. I think he's a solid late rounder if that's the situation. Um, Io Juzunmu, don't know him. It looks like maybe a rookie there. So I don't know much about him, assuming he won't be drafted. Devin Dotson, don't draft. Felicio, yeah, he's been with them for a while now, but now don't draft. Javante Green, nope. Markkanen, okay, this is someone I wanted to talk about. So Markkanen is reportedly, by a few different reports, unhappy in Chicago. So we're expecting a trade at some point. I would be shocked if Markkanen finishes a season in Chicago. I would say it's extremely unlikely, actually. So where is he going to go? Dallas has been thrown out there as one of the destinations. It was supposed to involve like Kleba is what it was supposed to be, which I think both sides actually might be happy with. I mean, if you're a Bulls fan or a Mavericks fan and you want to chime in the comments, let me know if you'd be against that. But expect Markkanen to be on his way out, and that is what it is. Maybe he'll land in another situation where he thrives. He honestly could have like a decent little spot in the rotation for himself on this Bulls team. Because, I mean, the depth at big off the bench, I feel like is not great for Chicago. He could be a solid big to come off the bench, but that doesn't seem to be what he wants to do. So just something worth monitoring. If you draft him, know that whatever role you see him having in Chicago will probably not be the role he maintains throughout the year. All right. Adam Mokoka. Is that a rookie? I'm not sure, but I wouldn't draft. Denzel Valentine, don't draft. And then, okay, Kobe White. That's going to be our last one for this Bulls analysis. I'm actually going to do a second analysis here right after this. So I get back-to-back videos for you tonight. A lot easier to do them when I'm doing the live stream. So Kobe White should have a very solid role off the bench for the Bulls. And some people might be scared off him by all these additions they made in the offseason. And I don't think you need to be, quite honestly. I think his role is pretty secure off the bench, and he's a scorer. We know that. He'll get his threes entering year 3, I believe. So I like Kobe White. I wouldn't draft him too highly, but he could be extreme value depending on the round you find him in. Definitely take a look at Kobe White because like I said, I think some people are going to be falsely scared off of him by this perceived depth the Bulls brought in, which it's not just perceived; it is legitimate, but a lot of it's in the starting lineup. Like, and Kobe White wasn't starting, so his role should mostly stay the same. Yeah, Caruso is off the bench too now, but no, I mean, no, I definitely still like Kobe White a great deal, and there are some injury concerns in the starting five as well. So I think there's no reason not to take a mid-round chance on Kobe White. I'd say I think it's a good chance. You know, you want to take the high percentage of success chances sometimes in the draft, and Kobe White's definitely one of them. So that's all I have for this Chicago Bulls fantasy outlook preview here as we look forward to the upcoming NBA season. Of course, the schedule was just announced. If you like the content, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It helps out a lot, and we're going to continue to grow. So once we get around 100 subs, like I've been saying, I'm planning on doing a giveaway, and I'll get more information on that as we get around that area, subscriber-wise. So tell your friends, get everyone sub, and I'm looking forward to doing the giveaway. So I'll be right back here with another video here in a little bit.